evening and welcome on this drizzly, rainy, non-springy evening. I'm Father Philip Dufour, Assistant Pastor of St. Philip's Parish, and I am here as usual with my partners in the faith. How was that, Dennis? Was that better than partners in crime?
I like it.
All right. My usual partners in the faith, our Director of Religious Education, Dennis Sousa, and our Youth Minister, Melissa Roberts. Good to see you both.
Thank you, Father.
Hi, Father.
So we come here with an important topic this evening. That one of the, of course, the foundational sacrament of our Catholic faith is, of course, the sacrament of baptism. That the sacrament of baptism is the gateway to the other sacraments of our faith, and it is the real beginning of our spiritual lives in Christ. That the day of our baptism is the most important day of our lives. And there's a lot of different elements that come into this sacrament. Of course, such a special day in the lives of all of us. But one of the most important parts of this sacrament is the role of the godparents. And when a parent, still rejoicing in the birth of their newborn, comes to myself or Father Frank, the question can be, who should we choose as the godparents? Is it just the default? So, okay, I've got to ask my sister, or I've got to ask my brother. Okay, I've already asked my older sister, so now it's going to be the younger sister. Is it just the default to our siblings or to close family friends, or is there something deeper? And thanks be to God, the Church gives us, what are the qualifications? What are the requirements for a godparent? So we just want to take a little bit of time, especially for those parents who are, as I said, still rejoicing in the birth of their newborn child and are preparing to have their child baptized. We just want to take a short time today just to kind of go over to help you prepare to choose the godparents for your child. Very important responsibility in the sacrament of baptism. So we're blessed to have with us this evening a godmother for not only 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, but 6 godchildren. This is Melissa Roberts. So Melissa, it must be such a great joy to have, not just 1, but 6 godchildren. So what has that been like for you to be a godmother, and a godmother to so many?
Humbling, in one word, Father. It truly is very humbling. It's a great honor for me and a great privilege to be asked and chosen to be a godmother. My earliest experience of being a godmother when I was just 17 years old and my youngest brother was born. I'm one of 7. I'm the second of 7 myself. So when my youngest brother was born, second to youngest, I was still in high school. And I had just been confirmed, and my mom asked me to be his godmother. And I wasn't even really sure what that meant at the time. And even as the next experience I had with godparents was becoming a mother myself and having to choose godparents for my firstborn son, right? And it was kind of that question of, okay, who am I really close to? Who do I know will be in my child's life for a long time? Am I going to run the risk? And of course, we all have our own experiences with our own godparents. Have my godparents, what kind of role have they played in my life? And so kind of we pull off of those experiences. But now 5 more godchildren later and 4 more children I've had to choose godchildren for has really helped me to go deeper to the point where being pregnant for my 5th child, I spent most of my pregnancy hemming and hawing and praying and trying to figure out who on earth I would have to be the godparents, because as I grew older, as I grew in faith, as I had more children and just really came to understand the beauty of what it means to be a godparent, I started to ask the question, who is worthy of being a godparent for my child? Who will pray my child into heaven? Who will be there to support them? And it's just one of those things where it is a great honor, and it is very humbling to be chosen as a godparent, and it comes with great responsibility. And am I praying enough for them? Am I doing enough for them? I remember my one of my godsons, for his 11th birthday, I got him a Life Teen Bible. I was so excited, and he looked at me and he goes, "I don't want to be a priest right now." And I go, "It's okay. It's the Bible. This is my job. This is my role." But it's that beautiful relationship that we have, and it comes with a lot of questions of, do I just go with family? Do I look out to friends? But really what it came down for me, especially towards the end of, these last couple of children, it was, who do I know will pray for my child? Who do I know will be a model, a persistent and constant model of the faith? And so it comes with a lot of responsibility, and sometimes it's been hard even to choose one sibling and not another. And it comes with a lot of prayer. And so, like you said, congratulations to those who are experiencing the joy. It's such a beautiful blessing to bring life into the world with God, and who are now contemplating. And then congratulations to those who are just finding out they're pregnant, and you've got 9 months to kind of think about and pray about, who will be worthy to help lead your child to heaven.
And I think, thank you for sharing that, Melissa. And I think,
Father, if you don't...
Of course. Yes, Dennis, please.
Well, I was just going to say, jumping off point, based on what Melissa was really talking about, who is going to pray my child into heaven? And, and oftentimes I'll get a lot of questions, is this somebody that, God forbid, if something happens to me and my husband, if we die, is this going to be somebody who takes care of my children? And that's not necessarily what you're choosing here right now. At this point, what you're choosing is really a role model in the faith, somebody that that lives out their Catholic faith and can teach your son or daughter how to do the same, to be a real role model. Also, think about some of the things that are going to happen on the day of baptism, where this godparent or godparents are going to speak on behalf of the child, because the children can't speak for themselves, right? And I'm reminded of the story of the paralytic and his friends, where the paralytic himself couldn't get to Jesus, and so the friends, take him to the roof of the house, remove the roof, part of the roof, and lower the friend down. And in a certain way, that's what godparents are going to be doing for that child who can't yet speak for his or herself. And then the next thing, to protect the child, right? One of the things that we see in the baptism itself is that either the parents or the godparents will get the candle, and we say, don't let protect this flame, don't let this flame go out. So these godparents are going to be, protecting and nurturing this flame of faith. So just adding to what Melissa said right there. So it's not necessarily someone that you are saying, if God forbid something happens to me, you're going to raise my child. What you're saying to them is, because of the way that you live your life as a Catholic, I would love for my son or my daughter to grow up like you do and to live the faith the same way that you do.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dennis, and thank you, Melissa. Both with beautiful explanations, beautiful witnesses on what the godparent really should be. And then, Melissa, I think you said it, you said it well. And who is worthy to be the godparent? That really there's a gravitas to that role of it. It's not simply just, okay, this is going to be my special uncle. This is going to be my special aunt that I have a unique special relationship with. And of course, we should have a unique and special relationship with our godparents, but not just because, okay, they give us the extra gifts at Christmas, or, we have special outings with them, all good things. I'm not discounting that the godparents should give an extra gift on Christmas. I'm sure the kids will appreciate that, absolutely. But the unique relationship really stems from that relationship of faith, that relationship of, being the leader a leader in that child's life of faith, praying for them, living their faith in a worthy and exemplary manner. In the sacrament of baptism, the godparents will promise before God that they will assist the parents in the Christian upbringing of that child, and that's a promise that they make before God, a promise that's not just made lightly, but one that we take very seriously, and that especially that image of the candle, keeping guard over that flame, that the flame has been entrusted to you, to the parents and the godparents, to be kept burning brightly. So it's really, even the sacrament itself is really showing us what a beautiful responsibility it is, to lead someone in the faith. But what are the exact qualifications? And again, canon law is our friend. So be looking at, what does the church tell us are the qualifications specifically of a godparent. And one kind of fun fact, for you is that someone only needs one godparent. That traditionally it's always a godmother and a godfather. Someone cannot have two godfathers or two godmothers. It's always, if you're going to have two, it must be a godfather and a godmother. But that someone, according to church law, someone can just have one godparent, which can be either a godmother or a godfather. Now, what if we have a situation where you have two people that you want to serve as the godparent? You have a man and a woman, but one of them is not Catholic. They're Christian, but they're not Catholic. Can they still serve as a godparent? Yes and no. So a little distinction. So say let's take for example that we have a family, and the parents want the godmother, the particular woman to be the godmother who is Catholic, but the man they want to be the godfather for is not Catholic, but he's a baptized Christian. So the godmother will still be titled the godmother, but the godfather is what is called a Christian witness to the baptism. So they're not given the specific title of godfather or godmother, but they are the Christian witness. Now, colloquially, I'd say, it's fine to call it, I can say, oh, this man is my Christian witness at my baptism. You're going to say, that's my godfather. But that they can serve as a Christian witness in that baptism. That's something that we come across very, very regularly. Happens all the time. They can serve as that Christian witness because they have been baptized. We all share that one baptism.
Now, Father, just to be clear,
yes,
like you said, you need at least one godparent, either a godfather or a godmother. You couldn't simply just have a Christian witness.
Correct. You need to at least one of the godparents has to be Catholic. At least one. That's a good question. Thank you, Dennis.
Well,
so the qualifications, the canon law, our friend, tells us to be admitted to the role of godparent, one must, so first, be at least 16 years of age, unless in an exceptional case it seems to the pastor or minister that there is a just cause to admit a younger person. Basically, what that means, you have to be 16. You have to be 16. So at least 16 years old. 2, you have to be a Catholic who is already confirmed and have received the Holy Eucharist. So you have to be 16, and you have to have already made your confirmation, and you have to have received First Holy Communion. So basically, you have to be a fully initiated Catholic. Because as a godparent, as we discussed, you're going to be leading in the faith. So you can't be a leader in the faith if you have not been fully initiated into that faith. So really, a godparent is a consequence of you have already received all this, what are called the sacraments of initiation: baptism, First Holy Communion, and confirmation. You have had to receive all those sacraments and be at least 16 years of age. Number 3, you have to be leading a life of faith in harmony with the duty undertaken. Now, what does that exactly mean? So you've been fully initiated into the faith, you've made your confirmation, you've made First Holy Communion. Basically, this means that you have to be living out your faith. You have to be authentically living out your faith. So what does this look like? A lot of times, parishes will require what's called a sponsor certificate, which means that you have to go to your parish priest, and he has to attest that you are a Catholic who is fully practicing their faith. Most importantly, this means attending Mass every single Sunday. Every single Sunday, you are attending Mass. You are faithful to attending Sunday Mass at your parish. If you can't make it to your parish, at another Catholic church. That you are every week observing that commandment to attend Sunday Mass.
And holy days of obligation.
And yes, thank you. And holy days of obligation, absolutely.
Not get off the hook that easy.
That's right. Not because the church wants to impose so many things, but because the church wants you to worship the Lord, spend time with the Lord, be receiving the graces of attending Holy Mass and worthily receiving the Eucharist. This also means that in your personal life, in your life outside of Sunday Mass, you are living a life that is consistent with the teachings and the practices of the Catholic faith. Now, two of the most common situations that that people might find themselves in, with regard to living out that Catholic faith. Two realities I think that are very present now. They're very difficult pastoral situations that not only priests but families will run into. Are the cases of those who have unfortunately been suffered the loss of a divorce and are remarried outside of the church, meaning that they have been divorced but have not had that first marriage annulled, and they are civilly remarried outside of the Catholic Church. Or there are those who outside of marriage are living together, cohabitating, living together before marriage. And unfortunately that is and very, very sadly a very common thing, a very common situation that people might find themselves in, whether this is parents or perhaps those that parents are looking to be godparents for their children. And it's when we run into when we come across these people in these situations that it can be very difficult, because these two situations are situations that place people that are living outside of the teachings of the gospel, of the teachings of Christ and His church. And so in those situations, at that moment, in that situation, makes someone ineligible to be a godparent, in that situation. But however, the church is a loving mother. The church is a mother that is always looking to the well-being and the salvation of her children, the salvation of all the world. Christ came as our Savior. Christ came not, St. John tells us in his gospel that the Son of Man came into the world not to condemn the world, but to save the world, that people might have salvation through him. So when the church comes across people who are in these situations, The church never just says, okay, you're in that situation, we can't help you, goodbye. How merciless, how sad, how tragic would that be? And this is actually one of the great graces of the sacrament of baptism. Is that when we come across these situations, it's like, okay, we've come across this situation. In this situation, in this current situation, this makes you ineligible to be a godparent, but how can we work together? How can we work together? How can we work together to get your current marriage validated? Okay, you're living together. You're living with your girlfriend. You're living with your boyfriend. Okay, how can we work together to rectify this situation? How can we work together to? Yes, of course. Yes, Dennis.
I think what you're saying is really important right now, because we do come across this a lot, and what we have always told parents who are either pregnant or have just had their baby, that this is a beautiful time to really invite somebody that they is a good role model in every way, but maybe has been out of the habit of practicing their faith. Whether it has been something that they haven't been going to mass on a regular basis, or like the situations that you just described, perhaps my brother and his fiance are living together. And I would love for my brother to be a godparent because he's a good man in every way. This is a beautiful opportunity for evangelization, really, to invite,
Absolutely.
to pull one of my brothers aside and say to them, look, as my wife and I, we would love for you to be a godfather to our son or to our daughter. But the way that you're living your life right now, you would not be able to be one. Would you please consider, moving out of the house until you're married? Or would you please consider practicing your faith? And really, God can be calling you right now through this process to be a godfather to my son or to my daughter, to really practice. So it's a beautiful opportunity for parents to evangelize, to use this as the opportunity that you were really just talking about.
It's always an invitation. It's always an invitation. We can look at the situation as a closed door, or we can look at it as the opening to really a new life of grace. That God, uses these situations to draw us closer to Himself. So I love how you put that, Dennis. That it's an opportunity for evangelization, and that the church is always looking to our salvation, to our well-being of body, mind, and soul. That it's really that again that invitation just to grow closer to Christ, and it's baptism already bearing fruit even before the sacrament has even been celebrated. Baptism is such a fruitful and beautiful sacrament that it has power to affect not only the one to be baptized, but everyone around him or her. Our God is never outdone in generosity. He is so good. So continuing on, just two more qualifications. So number 4, not to be under a lawfully imposed or declared canonical penalty. I'd gander to say, most would-be godparents are not under a lawfully imposed or declared canonical penalty. Obviously, if someone has been excommunicated, they can't be a godparent without having that lifted. Most, I gander to say, 99.9% will not have to worry about that, but we include it in here as well. And then finally, a godparent cannot be the father or mother of the one to be baptized, and that's kind of an interesting qualification, because it's like, well, I mean, kind of killing two birds with one stone, right? But really, it's the father and the mother are the primary teachers of the faith. to their child. It's not the priest, but it is the parent actually that is the primary teacher in the faith to their children. And so the parents already have their role. They're the primary teacher. So it's almost like, my mother taught pre-kindergarten for a number of years in our parish school, and she had a number of aides, teachers' aides, with her. So the parent is like the teacher, and the godparents are like the teacher's aide. The teacher needs the aide. The teacher needs the aide to be supporting the teacher in their role of teaching in the classroom, and it's the same thing with the godparents and the parents. The parents need the godparents to assist them in their role of bringing up their child or their children in the practice of the Catholic faith. So everyone has their part to play, and everyone must be allowed to play that part. So it's really just those five qualifications, and so we really encourage you, with this video to really take that to heart, to really for those who will be choosing godparents, to really pray about who is God calling you to choose as the godparent. It's not just simply an easy choice, or what if my brother or my sister is going to be offended if I don't ask them, or really asking the Lord who is going to be the best godparent for my child.
Father, can I just add one more thing?
Of course.
And we come across it a lot during baptismal preparation. Oftentimes, you had mentioned getting a a godparent certificate, rather. Mm-hmm. And it's important that the godparents do belong and are registered parishioners at a parish, so that way that they could go to their parish priest to get either a sponsor or a godparent certificate. Otherwise, St. Philip's or whatever parish this baby is going to be baptized at would have no way of knowing if this godparent is a suitable godparent for all the reasons you just mentioned.
Excellent. That's an excellent point. Thank you, Dennis. So we hope you've enjoyed this short video on godparents preparing for baptism. So we hope you have found this helpful. Please know of our continued prayers. Thank you to my fellow partners in the faith, Dennis and Melissa. Thank you so much. God bless you both.
Thank you, Father. You too, Father.
Good night.